Hello and welcome back to the channel, and in an effort to get back from injury today we are attempting a run walk. Let's get into it. So here we go then, kicking off. Just going to take it nice and easy, just ease this car back into some sort of activity. It's slippy out here as well, so I've got to make sure that I'm taking it super steady. Right, here we are then, coming in for kilometre 1. Now we're going to walk for a little bit, so that is 1 kilometre down, time of 5:47. Just taking it nice and easy and not putting too much pressure or too much strain through my calf and my left leg, which is where I'm having this problem, the injury that I've had for now. It's coming up to 5 weeks. Now, I'm not sure whether or not you saw my video a week or so ago which talked a little bit about the injury and what I've been doing to try and overcome it and to build a little bit of strength back up in that left calf. Essentially what happened was, I think I rolled my ankle during a fast 5k. I then donated blood on the same day. I then ran the day after, just nice and easy, with a bit of a niggle in my left calf, not really thinking much of it. And the following day after that, I ran a half marathon, and it was during that half marathon that everything just sort of fell apart and my left leg just gave up altogether. And since then, like I said, about 5 or so weeks ago, I've just been absolutely hopelessly in pain. Whether that's walking, I haven't been able to run. I've done 1 or 2 very slow short runs just to try and overcome it, but I've always ended up back in quite a lot of pain. So I've been building up with a lot of strength work over the last couple of weeks and just left running altogether. So yesterday was the first time in a while that I've put any sort of prolonged activity through my legs. I did 1 hour of walking, which was a little over 6 kilometers, and it felt pretty good. My physio had said that walking would help. So the issue seems to be in one of the tendons that runs sort of down the outside of my left leg from just around about my kneecap down to my ankle. It's got a name that's far too long for me to remember, but I'll put an image up here so you can see which one that I'm talking about. So I've been applying a lot of ice, I've been doing a lot of massaging, wearing compression socks, just the usual RICE approach. So rest, ice, compression and elevation, just to try and overcome and to do anything that I can to get back out on the roads. These last 5 weeks have been an absolute nightmare. I've really missed being out here. I mean, who wouldn't want to be out in the snow at sunrise? So many beautiful scenes to be seen. And perhaps one of the most frustrating things that I'm finding is I can feel day by day my fitness just dwindling away. I know that sounds ridiculous, but even that first kilometre just then, I could just feel my heart rate went higher than normal. And I just felt out of breath. I didn't feel comfortable. So it's very frustrating having built up so much fitness over the course of the last year. So from running daily and high mileage weeks of between 80 and 100 kilometers to just not being able to run at all, it's just been a complete change in my routine. So what I'm doing today anyway is I'm doing a run walk. So what I'm trying to do is 1 kilometer of really easy running followed by 1 kilometer of walking, and I'm hoping that that's going to help just to build up the ankle mobility, the stability in that left leg, because that's where my problem is. It's during landing, and then as I transition my weight towards toe off, I feel a tweak along that inflamed tendon down the outside of my left leg, and that's hitting me with a really sharp pain with every footstep, which is not ideal. But I suppose on the positive side, what this whole thing has taught me is not to take my legs and body for granted. So last year I was pretty good at warming up and cooling down after each run. I was clocking up lots of half marathons, towards the end of the year doing multiple half marathons a week, often on consecutive days. And then it was into this year as I started to cut back that mileage and just focus a little bit more on some speed training. I got a bit lazy with my warm-ups and my cool downs. I wasn't doing as much stretching. Lockdown didn't help. I was doing some runs at lunch times, but I wasn't having the time to really do those warm-ups and those cool downs. So I was getting up from a seated position at my desk, working, throwing on my running shoes and running straight out the door without really thinking much about it. And that lack of warm-up has eventually come back to bite me. And so what I'm going to be a lot more mindful of now is incorporating some strength and conditioning, not just my legs, but core stability and stuff instead. And I have actually been enjoying doing a little bit of that these past few weeks as I try to build that strength back up. I'm going to be looking out for some runner-specific strength and conditioning training as well, just to help with all of those muscles that us runners use on a daily basis. If you've got any recommendations for runners' workouts, let me know in the comments below. Right, that is kilometer 2, so let's head in for the second running interval. Here we go. And just as soon as I start to pick up that running motion, I can kind of feel a little bit of a tweak in that left leg. It's not quite as bad as it has been over the last few weeks. And actually, as we head into this second kilometer interval, if you like, it doesn't feel as bad as it did in the first one. I think I've sort of warmed up a bit. I did spend plenty of time this morning warming up in the house, doing some dynamic stretching, just to make sure my body was ready for doing a couple of miles. I could have done with applying a few more layers because there is an icy wind out here this morning. It's absolutely freezing. Right, I'll see you at the end of the interval. Here we are then. And that's the end of my second running interval. And what I've been trying to do is to run on the road as much as possible. You can see the road's dry there and free of snow. And what I didn't want to do was to be slipping and sliding all over the place on the pavement, ruining my form and potentially falling or slipping and causing further injury. So that second kilometre didn't feel too bad. I was really focusing on my form, making sure I was standing upright, my legs were cycling beneath me, I was landing with a tripod landing, so the 2 points at the ball of the foot plus the ankle at the back, to maximise the use of my natural elasticity system, everything that I can, pumping the arms, everything that I can, really, just to make sure that I'm running in the way that the body needs to run, minimise the risk of any sort of injury. Timing was again probably a little under 6 minutes a kilometre, so really stripped back, nice comfortable pace. It felt pretty good overall though. And what I'm doing now is I've picked up the walking pace a little bit, so I'm walking a little faster than my usual regular walking pace. And I do feel a little bit of a niggle around the back of my left Achilles where I think it's probably overworking slightly to compensate. Oh, just nearly went over there. And so my Achilles and the other muscles around my leg are probably overworking a little to compensate for the weakness in that tendon. And what I just need to make sure that I'm doing is cooling down properly, warming up properly, and I'll be doing some massaging as well when I get home. So I guess it could be worse. It could be a better time of year to be injured. I suppose at the moment, running in the snow, as much as I enjoy it, there is a bit of a risk of injury and that sort of stuff. So if I'd been injured in the spring or the summer, I'd have been particularly devastated. I'm hoping that come spring, I'll be back up to fighting fitness. I'll be ready to start blasting some real good speed sessions and getting it up to race fitness in time for the summer. Whether or not there are going to be any races, who knows. But what I'd really like to do this year is to focus on that speed. Having set the baselines at the end of the year last year and in the first week of January this year with my 10k time of 36 minutes, and I really wanted to see where I could get to this year after clocking up so many half marathons last year, in terms of how fast I can run. So something that I want to explore more when I get back from injury is a formal training program. It's something that I've never really done before, followed a strict regime in order to get faster over a specific distance. All of my running, I've probably been covering off the right kinds of workouts, but not necessarily in the right order with the right breaks in between. So I'm really interested to see just what I could do if I really applied myself, both in terms of my training, in terms of my diet, in terms of my resting and everything in between. So very interested to follow a proper program and see how that takes me this year. The scenes out here today are beautiful. I do love a nice snowy wintry scene, especially just after sunrise. It's marvellous. Alright, we're coming in towards the end of that walking interval and almost at 4 kilometers in total. I'm ready to go again. I do feel as though I could do more, but I'm just going to do one more running interval and then call it a day at that point. I want to be really disciplined. As much as I feel I can do more at the moment, I don't want to overdo it and risk putting myself out for longer. So I said to myself this morning, I would cover off 5k, 3 of which would be running and 2 of which would be walking, and I'm going to stick to that. So here we go, heading in for the 3rd running interval. I'm going to put the camera away so that I can swing my arms properly and get my form proper and right. I'll see you at the end. And here we are then, coming in for the finish, and that is it then. Another kilometre there, 5 minutes and 58 seconds. So total time a little over 39 minutes. So that was 3 kilometres of running split with 2 kilometres of walking, 1 on, 1 off, just to try and get my legs moving, get used to being back out again. It felt awesome to be moving again. I'm really missing being out here every day. It felt great to have some nice cold air in the lungs. I can't feel my nose or my lips, which is a problem, but we'll soon warm those up in the shower. So that's a bit of an update then on where I'm at with my injury. Hopefully fighting fit again in the coming months, but just building up that strength and resilience in that left leg, slowly but surely, maintaining discipline and not trying to go too hard, too fast, too soon. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that sort of great stuff, and I will see you on the next one.